Hello, Marky Dragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life, and welcome to another roundtable for Neos Land. This is an official roundtable that we are going to discuss combat skills and try and hammer some of this stuff out, see where we can get with it. So welcome everybody here on the Hangout. Thank you for joining today.
Yep.
And
thank you for having us.
Yep. The skills are so far defined in the game as follows. Basically, as it's set right now, they skills are learned through books, and then so there's book smarts, and then there is street smarts. You not only you start learning it up to a certain point, like studying, which you can do offline if you want. And then you can take your microphones and mute them. Okay, 2 down, 8 more to go. And then so you take your skills that you've learned, and you can go back out into the real world. And so let's say that I have learned combat, and then so I've been just the basics of combat or whatever, maybe sword use, dagger use, something like that, and then I go out into the real world and I apply those skills, and it goes up even further. I actually start catching up with my book smarts. Book smarts are nothing without the street smarts, and so the what we're gonna talk about in this episode is really how the skills should work with each other, and I'm not talking about whether it's the skill of throwing a fireball or jabbing a knife or swinging a sword. This is almost going to be a math session, and so everything needs to even out. We need to have as much balance as possible, and so with the skills is going to be a certain number of points or whatever. So you've got your maneuvers, and so you're able to mash the button quicker or whatever, and be right there, slicing this other guy, and he's defending at the same time, or whatever. But for every swing of the sword, every fireball cast or whatnot, there is a formula that needs to happen of damage out against damage deflected on the way in. There's like a calculation that happens based on modifiers, and then we have damage dealt or damage received, depending on which end you're on. And what is the first things that come to mind whenever I mention all of this? God, am I picking the hard subjects today or what?
Yeah. Balancing
it's
mechanics.
It's a thinking thing, right? I mean, these questions that you're throwing out there, it really does take a lot of thinking, because we're building the core system of this game right now, and that's the problem. That's the problem. We want to make sure that we hit this correctly.
Absolutely.
I mean, first impressions go a long way with these type of games. I mean, there's so many indie developers out there right now that are coming out with games, and they don't think things through correctly. They just put the game out, spit them out, and say, here you go, give us all your money, and then that's it. We want to be opposite to that. We want to make sure that when we make this game, we bring it to you guys, people watching this on YouTube, you guys watching it on Twitch. We want to make sure that when this game comes out, it's a game you want to play, not a game, I'm just going to play it because, it's something to do. So I think that's why it's, when you ask these questions, we're just sitting back, okay, now, that's a good question.
But,
what do we do? It's true.
When calculating damage, hello, by the way.
Hello.
Hi there. We first need to know, is it going to be a hidden dice roll like World of Warcraft, or is it going to be based on where you actually hit with your sword?
Okay, so let's talk about that. How do we want to apply a method where there's a dice roll that goes in, to where maybe sometimes you get a critical hit or whatever, or sometimes you miss?
Why can't we have both?
Well, we probably can, but
hit locations are important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if I whack you in the head, even if it's a glancing blow, it may stun you, it may decapitate you. You know, it may cause a lot more damage than it would if I nicked your thigh or your arm. But if I nick your arm or your thigh, you lose maneuverability, or you lose defensive capabilities or offensive capabilities. So these are all factors, and the question is, how much can the engine handle? Because that's a lot of calculation.
I happen to know that the engine can handle this if they program it.
Oh,
Yeah, look at
Guys,
Chivalry. I think Chivalry's done it correctly with the, if I lop off somebody's arm, their arm's gone.
Well, I think, if we're looking at skill-based architecture, you should have PlanetSide 2 as your, biggest idol, so to speak, because they have massive combat where everything is calculated based on where you hit, basically.
That's true. PlanetSide 2 does have a very interesting calculation system, I agree.
Where everything is, I think it's based, on proximity. Stuff doesn't calculate on your computer locally if it's not happening close to you. But I'm no technical guy, so I can help you with that.
Well, I think skill should have a major factor in it, but there are a lot of things like the type of armor somebody's wearing.
These are all part of the calculation.
Yeah, how fast they move, whether or not there's magic involved. Are they buffed by magic? Are they cursed by magic? Are they degraded in some way? Are they tired? Stamina could play into this. Are they already injured? Or, is it major injury, minor injury? Is it an annoying injury? These are all factors.
The question is still, do you apply these buffs or debuffs based on, physics? If you hit with a spell, it hits. Or do you base it on dice rolls?
I think there should be a random chance factor involved. I mean, if you have perfect skills all the way up through a level of you have advanced or godly knowledge or uncommon knowledge with a weapon, I mean, I don't see why the chance should be reduced. But if you're basic, I picked up this sword yesterday, I spent 20 minutes with a mentor, I know how to swing my sword, you're going to have a lot more chance in there. I think skill should affect how much chance affects the swing.
But you still have to aim.
Yeah.
I think also stamina should take an effect. Whereas I keep coming back to Chivalry because they do it so well.
They do.
But when you swing a sword in Chivalry, the less stamina you have, the slower your swing is.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with Skyrim though too as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's the same thing. Skyrim, I mean, there's that stamina factor, and there's also the armor factor as well. I mean, if you're wearing heavy armor, you're more sluggish. But I don't think that's what we're really attempting to go here. It's really, how is this skill system going to work?
Well, everything that you're talking about can have a number applied, and it can all become a calculation. And then there can be a dice roll or whatever for a
luck factor.
Yeah. And that actually could happen on every single item. Your armor against my sword, and there's a roll that happens on the sword, and there's a roll that happens on the armor. And so armor, gets a high roll and holds up really well. And the sword gets a high roll and hits really well, and it turns out to be, maybe they nullify each other and it just becomes a normal hit. Whereas if the armor rolled really low, then the blow from the sword might be much greater.
So each hit will effectively have a range based on factors of strength, agility, stamina, power of the weapon, skill level. And then, as you say, the luck factor in it will say either high or low or whatever the number is, and then say the reciprocal of the defense. So, yeah, there's a lot of calculations in there, but once you've got the formula set, that's sort of a simple calculation for any PC.
And if we're being this detailed, there's another factor. Different types of armor versus different types of weapon, you're going to have different types of damage.
Absolutely. My dagger is not going to do anything against your plate mail.
Exactly.
It's just going to annoy you like a flea.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're doing a coup de grace where the person is, prone
Standing
or
behind
something
them or something.
Yeah, and you can slide it between the plates, but even then, I think that should be a separate skill. But I mean, if you get hit with a mace and you're in chainmail, you're going to be taking some lethal damage. You're going to take some damage that's stun damage as well. But if you get hit with a sword, you may take some stun damage and maybe a little bit of possibility of broken bones, but you're not going to take anything lethal, unless you get like a punctured lung or something from a broken rib. But either way, I mean, these are factors that we would have to take into account.
Monkey Dragon!
What the fuck was that?
Sweet Jesus.
Had
So,
nothing to do with this.
So basically, sorry, you. Okay. So basically, you have to land your hits by skill, and then all the attributes go into account with how much damage, how much armor does the enemy have. But what I feel is you actually need to land your hits in a Skyrim fashion, and after that you can do all the calculations under the hood. That's what I'm thinking.
And every item will have its own stats, which equals its portion of the calculation. There's so many calculations in here. It almost makes me wonder: are all the other games doing this? I mean, when we play in WoW and we have all of our stuff on, and I take
Oh yeah,
swings,
definitely.
So it must not be too hard to run all this on the back end.
Well, the difference is
Yeah.
if we want a skill-based game, we're gonna have physics. We're gonna have multiple more calculations to do. If you compare it to what World of Warcraft does, which is only dice rolls with some crappy graphics to go with it.
Yeah.
Have a look at the link that I posted there. It talks a little bit more about skills overview. I think this is just a generic overlook of most MMOs. You can take a look at that. It's just something to read. I don't think you want to really read it now, but I took the skill ranking system from there. I think that's we can probably cut it down. I mean, they've got below average, above average. We don't really necessarily need to have all that, but we could take those names.
Well,
and, I can be a. Go ahead.
I had proposed a tier-based system, which in one of the not interviews, but on the Kickstarter startup day, I had heard Jacques mention that they're going with the tier-based skill. Is there any way to get a verification on that?
A tier-based skill.
Remember how I divided it up between basic, uncommon, advanced, and then getting up into godly? Because I heard him mention it, and I don't know whether it's the same setup that I proposed or a separate setup that I proposed, or a separate.
Jacques, if you're listening, you can shoot me a message and weigh in.
Yeah, because frankly, all skills across the board should be using the same system, even if they're affecting different things. So
that's a really interesting thought. So my crafting of a nail in the game should be using the same type of calculations as what's used in combat?
Yeah, it's a different application of the same skill set. Not the same skill, but I mean skills. For instance, if you have a crafting skill, it's going to use the exact same system, whether it's a percentage or a tier-based cumulative point system, or whatever the skill system ends up being. That crafting should have the same basic system as the combat and the magic, so that it's a universal skill system. Because it affects how you interact with the environment.
Well, I think that even having carnal knowledge is like a blacksmith, and you're an expert at making swords, should make you a better swordsman.
I agree with that.
I think it should have some sort of effect on it, even though it might be very small. It should have some sort of effect on it.
If you're a blacksmith, you're going to know what weapons work best against what types of armor.
And yes, you're going to have that carnal knowledge. You're going to know that that folded steel is you hit a certain way. You don't. In other types of weapons, you know better how they are used, and you maybe because you're designing them.
Yeah.
Well, you could have a pretty simple system where your sword skill gets a couple of pluses to it by your blacksmith skill. Doesn't have to be advanced.
Hey, I have word from Jacques. Skills are never ending.
Well, we know that.
And so while there may be tiers, there is no top tier.
Oh.
So you may learn all there is to learn about Daggers 101, but in the future, Daggers 102 may come out, and you may want to research that as well. For more advanced stuff in Daggers, let's say. I'm not 100% sure on that. We'll have to, wait and see how it all comes out. But that is what it is at this moment.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we also had a talk, and I think on the forums as well, about items having qualities. So the production of the item with the type of materials, everything dug up, everything made has a quality to it. That also would affect the damage that these weapons do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All of this, gosh, these calculations are just like mind-blowing. I'm just thinking of, the sword, not only is it folded steel so it gets +1, but it's, made by a master so it gets another +1, but, it's been, used and it's at 95%, durability now, so it gets a minus 0.05, It's just kind of mind-blowing.
Well, all this stuff is what a lot of game manufacturers have already gone through. I mean, this is just the first time you've experienced this end of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been about the play I've always been about the play and the experience, and so I have never thought about the mechanics behind it. And I don't necessarily like to disrupt the fantasy of all of this and the immersion, but it.
Well, it doesn't interrupt it. I mean, it makes it possible for other players.
Yeah. So. Okay. So. Okay, so do we think that it is up to us to come up with the formula, or do we think that is up to the NeoJack team to develop that?
I think NeoJack need to do it because they know exactly what's going in to skill base, to items, to things like that, so they can bring everything together, and it's just a case of either sort of getting it from another game or testing it to see if anything's too OP to have a problem with. We can come up with rough ideas of, as we've just gone through, of all the things that should be added in there, but they know exactly what's in the game to be able to bring the numbers together, I think. So I think it'll be too hard for us to do it.
I also don't necessarily want it to be public information, A plus B plus XYZ equals whatever, because we want to keep discovery in the game. We want to have people testing items, testing different combinations, looking for the best combination that they can get, and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of adventure and discovery in all of that.
Yeah.
Basically, we should discuss this again once we have got to try the game and see what the developers have come up with, and then we can make adjustments.
Well, I think they need to solidify what their skill system is going to be and how universal it is, and I think they can come up with their own calculations. I think they should take down a list of what we've listed here, because these are all factors that we want in the game. We need a solid skill system. Like, how is it going to work? How do your skills accumulate? Is there specialty moves you can learn? How does it interact with books, and how does it interact with mentors? Because a mentor will only be able to teach you what the mentor knows.
Absolutely, and not 100% of what the mentor knows either.
Yeah, and every mentor is going to be able to teach a different level.
But do we agree here that we want, hits to be landed in a physical and skill-based manner?
Yes.
Well,
I also think the luck factor shouldn't play a role at all. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, so let's discuss that. So do you think that there should be no... Because in a lot of games we have like critical hits and everything and stuff. Now, are those not luck of the dice that you got a high roll, or are those that you targeted the right location and hit it?
Yeah, and the guy didn't have a good enough helm, basically.
I think, like, let's use World of Warcraft, for example. And I'm just using an example because we're talking about critical hits and everything. You focus on that skill attribute. You increase your percentage of trying to land a critical hit. Now, there is some luck involved in that, but you're actively training yourself, or per se, building that stat so that you can try to play that dice roll in combat. Now, when it comes to that, that's no problem, because you're purposely choosing to go that route with your combat. But when we're talking about having, a plate armor and a sword, and then those two getting together and making a number, and then that number affecting by a dice roll that it can possibly be multiplied for a higher amount of damage, I think that's when it becomes less skill-based and more like, okay, I might be able to kill this guy if I just land it at this point in time. And I think it takes the skill out of it mostly, because then you're hoping for numbers. You're aiming for high numbers instead of actively trying to sit there and fight this person.
Yeah, but there is in any combat situation, there is a matter of luck. Now, I think luck should be the inverse of skill. Every once in a while, you might get lucky and throw a shot that actually lands and does something critical. There's always that possibility.
But that's not.
But if you are very skilled, you heighten your chance of getting that percentage. You heighten your chance of getting that critical by intention, because you are so skilled, you know exactly where to hit. That doesn't bar somebody from accidentally hitting.
Let me just throw something out there. So we talk about the skills, and let's say I have 100 skill points or whatever in swords, and I'm fighting somebody who has 10 skill points in swords. I guess I'm kind of thinking that, my 0 to 100 against his 0 to 10 in the swing, what if the dice roll is really in the skill? That, like, my dice roll has a chance of being, 0 to 100 on whether I might completely miss or whether I, strike a massive blow, and his is a dice roll of 0 to 10.
Well, I think the luck factor shouldn't have a massive effect. So say you're hitting him with a skill of 100, the chances are of hitting between 90 and 110 on him are, say, 80% of your hits. And then as it spreads out, the percentage gets less and less. So yeah, you might have a hit chance of, say, 150 at 5% of your hits, but then again you might have a slice of down to 50 or even 0 at 2 or 3%. So yes, you can completely miss him, but having the critical, that could be literally like a 5% chance of having an extra critical. His hits as well have the same percentage around his nominal hit, which will be 10. So therefore, even if he doubles his hits, it still doesn't even correspond to maybe one of your hits on him.
Can I interject? Go ahead.
Should the newbie character who only has 10 skill points against the more veteran character who has 100 skill points in something, should he be invulnerable to that noob? Or should the noob have a chance of striking a good blow, even though his skill is only 10%?
He should have a chance. Even the worst fighter, people who can't fight are actually more unpredictable to fighters than the other way around. Mm-hmm. So they could just handle it. Yeah.
I was going to say, look at it in the way that that World of Warcraft has it, right? With the dueling system. Now you can expand this over to the entire PvP system if you really wanted to. Somebody that's a level 1 going up against a character that's level 90, they're going to miss probably 80 or 90% of the time. They're just going to completely miss because they're not skilled enough. And the level 90 character is a heck of a lot more skilled. You can look at it the same way here. If you've got a character that's been playing for 30 days and is leveling up his one-handed sword, for example, against somebody that is brand new in the game, I would assume that the person that has been around longer, because they've got, they've used their sword a heck of a lot more than them, they should be able to obviously hit them a little bit better than somebody that is brand new in the game and that hasn't had a chance to even skill up anything.
Mm-hmm. I think what's happening with this conversation is we're talking about skills, but it's very hard to talk about skills and math and use variables in this conversation when we don't know exactly what type of system is in place for the combat, the foundation of it. Because in the example you're giving with World of Warcraft, that's all based off of chance and targeting with a skill, like an actual skill you press and I cast a firebolt or something like that. From what I've gotten from the previous roundtable is that we're aiming towards more hoping, or the community is building more towards an action RPG system where you actively, physically have to swing and hit that person. And if that's the case, with the luck and everything, it shouldn't be more as luck and crit. It should be based off of armor versus weapon, and less about skill and level, because there is no levels in this game. So
right. No, I agree with you there 100%.
It's really going to come down to what you as a player is holding in your hand swinging and what I'm as a player is defending with. And I think those are the variables you have to look at.
Let me ask Ian here. I keep seeing him doing head bobbing back and forth. Ian, what are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, this is my first time. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Welcome.
Okay, so, thank you. I've been listening to you guys, and I posted a question real quick asking, why does the skills have to be associated to numbers? Basically what I'm saying is, in real life, I can pick up a sword and I can swing that sword and I can hit somebody that's been using that different sword, for 10 years, and it could be my first time picking it up and I can swing it, and it's going to land, it's going to hit something.
You're not going to be good at it, but you can swing it, yeah.
Right, but it's gonna hit something and it's gonna cause some sort of damage. Now, to say that I swing that at somebody and it completely misses them, I think that's going away from what this game is trying to move towards. So why would the skills be based on a 0 to 10 if there's no limit? Like, I could use a sword for 10 years and never master the sword, right? But I'll be good at using it, but I'll never actually master the sword. So you can't put a number system to something that's infinite. You would just naturally get better and better at it, but you have to define that somehow in a game, or not define it at all and just let it be natural. And then you take into consideration the type of weapon that you're using versus the person's armor that you're attacking. Something like that.
So more of a realistic
system
than a non-realistic system, essentially.
Yeah, it would be more towards what real life is actually like, instead of putting a number to a system that, You know, say I'm skill level 10 with this sword and you're level 0, you know, wearing certain type of armor, so I'm going to hit you for, you know, as much possible damage as I can do, versus two people going at it, you know, like you're both going to walk away wounded.
Can I play devil's advocate real quick?
Sure.
Okay. What happens to the players that don't want a PvP? Let's say, what happens to combat for PvE? I was discussing this with somebody. Like, what happens when I'm fighting a dragon or that boar that you were fighting? You know, where's the chance in that? Where's the luck in that? Or is it just move out of the boar's way when he comes charging at you, or move out of the tail's way of the dragon? Like, all these things are factors and variables that we have to take into consideration, not just the player versus player combat.
I'm thinking. I mean, on one side of the table we have Skyrim. I mean, what this other guy was speaking about now was, you know, Skyrim basically, that kind of combat. And on the other edge we have World of Warcraft, where everything is calculated in dice rolls. We need to, you know, figure out where we're going to land with the combat system before we can actually, you know, put some meat on our legs, so to speak.
So this can essentially go back, kind of somewhat back to last episode. What type of system do we really want then? Do we really want the realistic type of vibe to it, like Ian was saying, or do we really want to go with generic vibe, which is more like the World of Warcraft, where it is that dice roll kind of feel to it?
I'm sort of changing my view on this from what I've been listening.
No!
Saints has done. No, the having the luck factor of actually hitting. The luck factor of hitting is actually in you aiming at the person and what part of his body. So if you aim and swing when your mouse isn't actually pointing at the person, then you're going to miss. If you're actually aiming at the person, yes, you're going to hit. So the factor of missing should be absolutely completely 0 when you've actually swung your weapon and you're actually aiming at the person. I've completely forgot that aspect of us actually being able to hit specific points on the body, rather than just like the normal combat system where you click a target and whichever way you're pointing, you're still going to be hitting towards that target.
So it could be more like a fear system essentially. I mean, if I'm going up against a dragon, I mean, my character's probably going to be scared shitless. But after I've fought 10 or 15 dragons, my character should have the balls to go up against that dragon, and I can do this, no problem. You know, now he's more comfortable with himself, and he can actually, and maybe he can actually hit better, and maybe he can actually, combat better, and he can probably, come against that with other players too, I think, as well.
Personally, I think every time you take away control from the player, it's, a bad game design. It's always bad to take away control. If you're not afraid of the dragon, why is your character, who is supposed to be you, somewhere down the line, afraid of a dragon? If you're not afraid of a dragon, so to speak.
Well, that's a matter of experience. I think we're also missing one factor in this discussion of sword versus sword combat, and that is offensive skills and defensive skills. When you're doing sword play, you do have two different sets of skills when it comes to offense and defense. And if you're using offense against offense, then the player with the higher skill level should be able to hit more often, and the player with less skill should hit less often but still have a chance of hitting. Now, if you're doing offensive skills versus defensive skills, somebody with 100% or the much higher level of defense might be able to defend against a low-skilled offensive player, but there should still be a factor of luck in there, because you can slip by somebody's defenses accidentally.
I agree.
But
I think somebody that's unskilled versus somebody that's a grand master at something. They're skilled, and that's all they've learned. They've studied the sword. They know the sword.
Yeah.
That's to do with the damage that's actually dealt. So yes, a Grand Master will do a lot more damage, but if the person they're attacking hasn't learnt sword at all, but has learnt defense up to the hilt, then yes, he would defend that
And
Grandmaster
I would
of
expect
Swords.
people who do not want to engage in PvP actually practice defense a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And that we leave that up to the consumer that's playing the game. Do you want to be a PvP oriented player? Or do you want to be that PvE guy that just wants to go out and kill pigs? Because clearly Marky Dragon can't.
Come on.
But
Well, it's either that or rabbits. Come on now.
Okay, I'm just thinking maybe we need some clarification. I mean, does the engine even support having skill-based real-time combat?
Oh yes.
I mean, like
Yes.
PlanetSide 2, like Skyrim, like Half-Life. You know,
It's Unity based. It'll support anything we put into it.
Okay.
That is true. There's also the limitations of resources to make things happen, and so you know what we're asking for here. You know, we're just going to have to go through the evaluation and see whether or not that's possible. And I know that in the very basic form, like the World of Warcraft system, I already know that that's possible. You know, when we talk about more advanced stuff. Is it possible? Well, the answer actually is yes to everything, but it's how much resources are required to make that happen, and whether or not that's a good business decision. You know, if putting in to the nth degree everything that's asked for, you know, means that, you know, we have 1 million players instead of 100,000, then we should do it. You know, but if it only adds, you know, another 5,000. You know, it's a cost thing. So I feel like we're beating a dead horse.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things though is in the topic of discussion that's on the table right now it is based off of the combat and everything, but I think if we break it down to the simplest form is real life versus good game design. Because yes, like I hear a lot of people mentioning, like, yeah, you have luck in real life, you can accidentally slip through defenses and whatnot, but what is it that makes it good game design? Because, you know, if I'm in, like, for example, DayZ is a very, very simulation type of game. Does that mean if it's trying to reach that limitations of real life, I should be having to actively clean my gun out in the field? But you don't see us breaking down our gun and cleaning it because the gun gets jammed and everything.
Right.
That's because, you know, it's good game design.
And there's no respawn. I mean, when you die in IRL, you're dead. That's it, right? I mean, there's a point where we have to say, okay, now we're playing a fantasy MMORPG.
Exactly.
So there's got to be
True,
you know.
true. There is a difference between a simulation and arcade. And you know, which do we want to play? Do we really want to play a simulation? I don't. Do I want to have some simulation type things in it? Yes, but I want it to fall more on the arcade side, because arcade is more about fun. Simulation is more about. It's not as much fun. It's more intense.
But I like intense.
Well, so do I. And this is the big battle, like between Warzy and DayZ. You know, people used to be in this big war against each other. And really, that kind of calmed down when it was pointed out that really DayZ is a simulation. It's a completely different game than Warzy, which is arcade. And
Yeah, that's true.
And I've played both, and they are very, very different. And which do I think is more fun? I like Infestation more, or Warzy more. But, you know, there's other politics in that. I'm talking just about the play.
You just opened up comments galore.
I know. And
Yeah, but the process of having this discussion irons out a lot of these issues and gives the direction to the game developer, which I think is really important.
But what I think you're missing here is that DayZ and Warzy are still similar in the way that they are skill-based. They're not dice-based.
correct, and there's also another factor into that, which is they are first-person shooter, and this is not. And I think that there's a bit of a difference with that, and I suspect that that's going to play some sort of role in all of this. Now, well, let me not go any further into that, but
It's so interesting of what to do with this. This is it's crucial that we nail this.
Well, okay, so we are going to have an episode tomorrow where we go through evaluation, and we're actually already doing a lot of that right now. We're actually trying to come up with, a solution to suggest, and we're talking about, these things that are really on the evaluation side. We're not dreaming anymore. We are planning, and so, maybe this is just a good place to leave it at. And I allot sufficient time for this, for the evaluation, because I think that the evaluation on this is going to be pretty heavy, and that to come up with solutions for this is not an easy thing, and Jacques and his team has some time to think about it until tomorrow and to formulate some things. But when they present it to us, maybe we won't like it. I don't know. So it's just a matter of. I think that we're all in agreement that every skill and comes into play as a part of a calculation with every item, with every action, and that so it's skill, item, action equals whatever. Destruction.
Yep, I can agree on that.
So skill, action, item, destruction. Said.
As long as I get to aim, I'm a happy guy.
This is the said system. I said so. Yes. Skill, action. Yeah, okay, anyway.
Oh, wait. A new spell. Local tactical nuclear strike.
Yes.
You mean it's going to rain dung?
Oh, goodness. Yes. Only
than the
for
flying
those.
pig.
Only for those who got in on the first day.
Woohoo!
Yes.
That's me.
So I don't know what item got removed, but we'll go over a couple of items tomorrow whenever we get Jacques on first thing. So anyway, or maybe I do. Maybe if they've got it on the list here, let me see. I'm looking.
It doesn't have been removed yet, no.
Yeah. I don't. It's not been listed yet. So it has been removed though because we are beyond the time for those of you watching live. So those of you watching live, we only have 26 or 27. 27 of those items will be given to you if you subscribe or if you commit today. So
$10.
Yeah, $10 to get in, and then if you whatever, you're not billed until the campaign is completed. So you don't have.
They added some items.
What's that?
They added some items like iron ingots.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
To get up to 30.
Well, no, I think Saint actually clarified that the other day. They didn't add items. Those items were always there. We just couldn't see them. There is only 30 items in total. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can now see what they look like.
This gargoyle statue.
So, okay. Well, anyway, I think that we have one unanswered item here on whether or not there's luck or not.
Well, U-Demons Online. Let me just say this: U-Demons Online actually has a luck-based system. And they actually use it. Now, if you wanted to, now this is gonna be a very controversial issue that I'm gonna bring up here. Is people can actually items will actually drop in game, and the items that will drop there is luck potions, and somebody can get a +1 luck, and they can apply that to their item, their sword, their mace, their whatever they want. And that will give them +1 across the board. But it's only for a very small duration, kind of like it would be with anything, like a health potion, for example. It's only going to last so long. And they've got that system, but they also have the system in place because they don't really have a leveling system per se. It is a leveling scaling system. Now, I know we don't have levels in this game, and we're not going to, but it could be the same thing. If I keep using my mace or I keep using my whatever, that particular skill is going to level, and
it's going to increase.
Yes, but that's really what they have. So the luck-based system, I think a lot of us have already said that you can get lucky. You can slash somebody and be lucky about it. Is it going to happen all the time? I don't think that it should.
Yeah, I concur with that.
Oleg says
You know.
he doesn't want to be a grandmaster and die to a lucky newbie. Tell that to Richard Garriott, a.k.a. Lord British, who died
Lord
to a
British.
newbie in the game when he was God.
See, and
You know,
that's what I don't
online.
think. Yeah, I don't think that we should have that. I don't think that somebody that literally just logged on, has been on for 2 minutes, happens to come across you. You're AFK for some stupid reason, and they come behind you and slash you in the back of the head.
Well,
and
you
you're
know,
done.
if you're
But-
AFK, all it takes is 10 extra stabs instead of 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. And I mean, AFK is a free kill, so I mean, you know, I don't know.
I think
don't know.
their right is to have that kill. I mean, if you're not caring enough to log out in a
Because-
safe place or just walk
Because
away.
you just went up in your dumb skill, which lowered all of your other skills by default.
You're AFK for too long,
Yes.
and all your skills drop down to
Yeah.
dumb skill. You got the dunce cap on; it just sits there.
Yeah, no, not dumps cap, dunce cap, dumb cap. Your dumb
Dumb
skill.
cap on.
Yes. Well, it could be dunce skill. It could be that that the longer you're AFK, the higher your dunce skill goes up.
A big red flag, neon lights. I am AFK. I'm
Oh my
AFK.
God, that would be funny. That would be funny. So, okay. So how do we solve this? Because the idea of having some luck in everything is good, and the idea of it being 100% skill based and no no luck whatsoever thrown into it is also good. How do we resolve that one item?
Well, I think we have to go to the developers and what are they willing to spend, because obviously the skill-based system is going to be harder to balance. It's going to be harder.
No, I don't think so. It removes one item from the equation. Because you're adding a luck roll in as opposed to no luck roll.
So say you want to try and have a critical hit. How do you specify to the game that a critical hit will occur? There has to be some luck roll.
Well, in the skill-based system, it's going to be: do you hit him in the head or do you hit the monster in the back where he has his weak spot? In the dice-based system, it's going to be dice rolls where they calculate your crit rating and your weapon crit rating and whatever.
Okay, so maybe then my suggestion is going to be to Jacques when he comes on the show tomorrow that he has chosen one of these methods and he explains why.
I don't think it should be.
Yeah, I think that would work.
Now, when you say also checking, like if you're hitting from the head, hitting from behind, you can also base the actual critical hit off of what proficiency you have as in your armor, as your weapon. Like that, I think that's what everything is going towards here. You're saying that if you're a blacksmith, you can have a special skill to increase your sword ability for a higher tier of armor. That all takes into place for your skill-based system, which still having that luck factor because you can just use different variables within your armor and the weapons to get to that point.
But
I like that point because WoW has that system now, and they've had it implemented for a while. I don't know exactly how long, but if I'm blacksmithing and I'm mining, if I'm mining, for example, I'm going to get, I think, an extra 3% toughness added to my overall stats. If I'm doing herbalism, I'm going to get agility added to my stats. So if I'm a blacksmith in this game, maybe I have, weapon proficiency, maybe 3% extra because I'm a blacksmith. I made the weapons. I should know how they operate. I should know how, to swing it. I should know how to do all that other kind of stuff. I think that would probably work, and that could potentially be. I think it was added in Cataclysm. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, that's basically the way it is. I think it should be something like that. If I'm a blacksmith, I should be able to have weapon efficiency. But if I go down the armor smith route, if we decide to have something like that, then by me wearing plate armor, I'm going to have efficiency with defense. because I've made the weapon. I know what it is. You know, not the weapon, but the armor. I know what it is and all that other kind of stuff.
But the thing is, you can still have all of these deep RPG features with agility and strength. They don't have to be dice rolls. They can be, you know, how fast can you swing your sword, how quickly can you step to the left and to the right, how fast can you run. All of these things can be, you know, translated into a skill-based system, as well as being in a dice-based system.
And you still get that engaging factor. Like, if I put on leather, I know I'm not going to be able to take out this plated armor, mace-wielding person. So if I do get into a fight with this person, how can I effectively, you know, turn the tide in my favor without getting hit?
I mean, the also thing is, you mentioned critical hit abilities. How do you decide that? So if you go up against a dragon, do you hit him with a critical hit every time because you know the stats of that dragon? And there you go. Therefore, you can go back and kill.
There may not be a critical hit. If you hit them in the same spot every time with the same move, it may equal the same amount of damage if they don't do anything back.
But I mean, people were mentioning critical hits. So I mean, how's that going to be?
Well, is a critical hit a function of luck? Or is that the skill-based?
No, it's not. I think that should be skill-based. Here's the thing. Luck is for the foolish. And I think it's very foolish for somebody that's been in the game 2 minutes to come up to a high-ranking swordsman and attack him. But that doesn't mean that he can't get one good blow in. It doesn't have to be critical. I mean, I think luck should be the inverse of skill. Luck is something that happens once in your career or once every couple of fights. Skill is something that happens every time you go into combat. I mean, the factor of luck should be minimal, and I think it should be the inverse of having the skill. I think it should not be something that is a huge factor long term.
Okay, so what if we create our own luck?
We did.
Yeah, that's what I want to add as well. That certain abilities give influence the variables. For example, take a surgeon with a dagger. He knows anatomy, so he knows where to stab you if he has one shot.
In the neck.
Yeah, for example, or well, they say that the best way to a man's heart is between the fifth and sixth rib.
The stomach.
Okay. So yeah. Well, that's for the women. Yeah. Okay.
You spoke about creating your own luck in a skill-based system, and by skill I mean, you know, your special skill with your mouse and keyboard, not your skill book skills. You also create your own luck because you get actually good at swinging a sword. You know,
what I was thinking is really that the luck that I was considering myself to be that newbie that's going up with the dagger to this ultimate swordsman, you know, and you know, poke him with the dagger and try and get lucky. And you know, the fact is, it's just poking him with the dagger really isn't going to hurt him. But maybe if I poisoned that dagger right beforehand, that I would get lucky that he didn't have any ability with him to cure poison. And so while I got a stab and I ran away, he died 10 minutes later, you know, and I got lucky. But that's
creating an advantage.
That's creating my own luck.
Well, that's not that means you have, you know, poison crafting level 1 million and you suck at daggers.
Well, I don't know. I mean, somebody could have handed me a poison dagger, you know.
Well, then I think that should be that's fair. I mean, if you got a poisonous dagger.
But it's lucky, you know, to think that a noob could take out this high-level swordsman or whatever. Everybody would say it was luck. But if it's just all skill-based and it's just the numbers, there's no luck roll in that. My luck was my creativity. I created the luck.
I think a lot of people are yearning for a system like that where you take the RNG out of the game and put it into the player's hands. Where
what is RNG?
Are random numbers generating. Okay. Whereas if every time I hit you is 10 damage, but this time I hit you, I got 100 damage critical hit. A lot of people are trying to shy away from that, especially with this type of active RPG style combat that we're kind of leaning towards here in these roundtables, where I want to be the master of my own, you know, fate. Like, I want to make sure if I swing my sword, I know I'm going to have that much damage that's going to hit. that proficiency of armor. Now, with the skills, when we say skill based, I hear a lot of people kind of get it confused, like people thinking skills, like I have a cooldown, I can swing my sword, and I do X amount of damage, or skill based using my mouse and keyboard. When I'm referring to skills, I mean I want to be that person that's looking down the field and before I even get into the fight, I see what type of armor that person has, so I know what I need to do, without taking RNG into the equation, like hoping that I can get this critical hit. That's what I mean by luck.
Okay, so if I have a suggestion, I want to agree with Saint saying that we shouldn't have a luck roll added on, that it really should be skills, whether it's skills at the keyboard, skills that you've learned in the game, your skill levels and everything, the items that you've equipped, the manner in which you configure them and use them should be what determines the amount of damage. And then the final number depends on how the person defends their complete setup as well. Is there anyone who disagrees with that thinks there should be a roll of luck in there?
Totally disagree. But I don't disagree that the higher skilled you are, the less likely luck has. I think luck should be strictly for the new player. I don't think it should be something that should be.
Who determines that? Who determines that person is a new player? Well, I could have been playing the game for 30 or 40 days, but I still have no idea what the heck I'm doing.
Well, the based on skill level, strictly based on in-game skill level. So at a certain point, you get past your basic skill level, and you are now thinking like a swordsman. You're thinking, this is what I got to do to parry, this is what I got to do to attack, but there's always that chance that newbie will do something that nobody's seen before, or just is totally unexpected and gets one shot in. And what I'm advocating for is not a random number generating system throughout the entire game, just strictly for the new players. I think that
new skills, not new players, but the new skills.
The new skill level, yeah.
Yeah, because new player, that could be open to determination.
That way, when we started out in Ultima Online, we had training dummies and stuff. And the first 10 times that you tried to hit one of these training dummies, you missed every time. And you're like, what the hell? He's a dummy. You can't miss him. How does the hell you miss him? But your skill was so low that you couldn't even hit it once. Your first 10 swings. And so Evil, what I think I hear you're advocating for is that, like, in the low skill ranges, that the chance of getting a success are much higher than when they reach whatever precipice point and go over to their actual skill. Or maybe, okay, so let me just play devil's advocate here.
Wait a sec. Maybe we could make it a learning curve.
No. There doesn't need to be a zero. It's as simple as that. If you want them to be able to have some success at the very beginning, and if 0 equals no success, then they all start at 5.
Or 1.
Yeah,
and that way it takes luck out of it, but still addresses what Evil is talking about.
The way I was looking at it, the way that Evil was saying it, the way I looked at it, and I interpreted that was, as your skill goes up, your luck goes down. I think that's probably the best way to look at it. Or chance at luck goes down, right? I could be still a Grandmaster, and I might have maybe 1% chance luck, but as an unskilled swordsman, maybe I have 50% luck, but my damage overall is going to be less than the Grandmaster.
Yes.
So this way you can't have somebody coming in that's brand new, has 50% luck. Yes, they may critically damage somebody a lot more, but the amount is a heck of a lot less than
I'm not
somebody
talking critical. I'm just talking just to hit.
Luck, critical.
Okay, If the just to hit is not based off of the skill level, if it's another roll on whether or not they hit, maybe that's just saying another way of luck.
Yeah.
I think,
If I-
the whole part of luck should be a very minimal part of combat. So all the skills you have, all the factors that we come into with the stats, the skills, the weapons you're using, the armor, everything like that. Or not the armor, as attack, everything to do with the point system for the weapons and everything, the skills, that produces a base value of how much damage that person can do. And then the random factor, or the luck factor, might vary that number by 5% each way. And then the same with the defense of the armor. That might random each way. So therefore there is a random slight number. So you're not hitting a mob 20 every time. You might hit him for 18, you might hit him for 22. You're not hitting for the same every time. Which is, I mean, that's then predictable, and you know exactly, oh, okay, I'm going for this mob, I know I'm going to hit him every time. I need 10 hits, he's dead, job done, go off somewhere else. At least then there's some randomness in, and you got to do some extra factors into it.
The thing you all bring up very good points. But the thing you're doing here is you're only speaking about the dice roll part of combat. Like Oleg wrote in the chatter, delete the luck already. Because, the thing me and Oleg are talking about is if you have to go up to the guy and you have to click your mouse and swing your goddamn sword, and you're going to hit the guy if you hit him. But if you aim like crap, you're going to miss him because, you're not good enough with your mouse. So the whole luck thing is based on this game having dice-based combat and not, skill-based, as in your computer skill-based combat.
I think that too, that another thing that could address Evil's objection to not having luck, for the newbie players, is that really, how long are we going to be a noob? When I take that first swing, how many skill points do I get? Do I get 1? Okay, so 10 swings, and am I at 10 skill points? And then how, does that kind of nullify any issues with, how long I'm going to be effect to that? So we all know that the first few times you try that you fail miserably. And I think that many of us experience that in real life. That the first few times you try to do something that's new to you, that you really don't understand and you don't know much about, that you end up repeating it several times until you have some success, and then you start to have more and more success. So maybe that's just natural.
Yeah, I think that should be the case. There shouldn't be any change compared the way to level. I think the sort of newbies go out, attack a log stump or something to get up their swordsmanship, or go out and attack a rabbit possibly to bring up their swordsmanship to be able to kill things.
Something that can't bite back.
Well, that rabbit I think was definitely.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I think that I.
Can I turn something on its head real quick?
Oh shit!
God, no.
No.
I'm just thinking, what if the luck that you guys are proposing isn't based off of the actual person, my skill level, but actually the proficiency with the actual weapon?
Oh,
well, that's basically what they've done in WoW, right? It's the same thing. I mean, you've got a one-handed sword, you've got a
Vanilla WoW
one-handed
did
mace.
that, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's why
yeah.
are we not playing that? Like, why are we not trying to mimic that design? They did it very well. Then they found out that needs to be obsolete, and they took it out. But when they did have it, everybody loves vanilla WoW.
Because
I mean, it's up for
remember being
debate,
out there
obviously,
with
but I
gloves,
mean,
like sitting out there, I need a weapon proficiency of 300 so I can even attack this person. The same can be said in this game with armor. Instead of levels, like what type of skill and armor does that person have? I'm going to want to train to actually go out there and fight this person because I don't know what I'm going to do right now with a weapon that I've only used for 3 hours in the game.
Exactly. I think that's my point there is each item needs to have some type of skill, not so much skill, but skill points essentially, right? Where that one-handed weapon needs to have maybe 300 points of skill. But the way that Marky was saying is they could literally sit at the town hall and just hit that training dummy, and they get 1 point, and then 1 point. Are you going to do it for 1 point, or does it gradually increase? Well, let me answer this to that question that I just asked for myself. Is WoW did that, but it increased quicker and quicker each time. So it would start off when you get 1 skill point, and then it would go to 3, and then it would go to 7, and then it would go to like 15, and it would keep, doubling or tripling all the way up, because you keep on using that same weapon over and over and over again. You're actually using the weapon. And to go with what Saint is saying, with I've only had that weapon for 3 hours, am I going to be good as a person that has used that same weapon but for 6 hours? I think the person that's been using it for 6 hours will obviously know how to use it a lot better than somebody like myself that's only been using it for 3 hours. I mean, sure, there's only so much you can do with a weapon, but still, I think it needs to come down to that.
Isn't this already confirmed to be the actual skill system in the game, that you level things by using them?
Well, that's part of it. That's part of it. It's a new system that I don't know I've seen anywhere else, which is you learn it, you get your book smarts, then you get your street smarts. And street smarts are always catching up with book smarts. And so we're all going to have these caps of, depending on how old your character is to really how much skill you have available to you. And
you go and read a book, how to swing your one-handed sword, and you get 50 book smart. Then you go out and swing your sword, and you get 50 street smart. That's exactly what we discussed just now.
Yes, it is. It is. It's just how long does it take to get up to 50? I don't know.
Actually, they have that system it's not an MMO, but they do have that system where I read a book and I'm more proficient. They have that in The Last of Us. It was a PlayStation game, and they actually had that when you're going through the game itself, you'll pick up a book that teaches you how to be more efficient in first aid. And no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about combat, but it can be the same thing. I can read a book that's going to, I should be swinging my axe this way. Obviously, you're not physically going to read that, but your character will read that. And now your character knows how to swing the axe properly, or the sword properly, or whatever else it may be.
Book smarts
is reading books instant.
Book smarts
this one's actually, this one you're actually sitting down and actually reading it while you're not doing anything else.
Yeah, I think it should be like based on time. Like
it's going to be based on time, just like it is in Eve. You can only be studying one at a time, and so you may be studying that one, and you may be able to study that while you're out adventuring around as well. But if you're back at home in front of your special bookcase, which still hasn't been removed from the list, so get your $10 pledge in today, that it can be that there'll be some little slight increase.
But you should still. I have one concern with this. I mean, you should still be able to be self-taught using. I mean, I'm a self-taught pianist. I haven't read a book about it, but I can still play the instrument. You should be able to do the same. I mean, if you go out and swing a sword...
No, this is about capping you, not about real life. This is about not allowing you to gain more skills than you've earned. And so unfortunately, with this, you'll have to go out and buy the pianist book before you can gain any skill in doing it. You may be able to gain real life skill, like how do I sit at my keyboard and play, in the game, and become more efficient that way. But for your character to earn more skill, he has to have sought out that book or sought out a mentor, which might be another way. We haven't discussed that. Seek out a mentor, which may be able to teach you those things and such.
Can grant you wisdom.
There's a difference between I think reading is more theoretical knowledge and street smarts is more practical knowledge.
Yes.
I completely agree with you with that. Mm-hmm.
I don't think, I think Jasper brings up a really good point that, there are certain levels. I think for basics, I think you should be able to self-teach you don't know the theory behind it, but you have a practical knowledge.
All right, well, we'll go over that at another point.
Okay.
It's not all set in stone. This is just how it's penciled in on that.
Gotcha.
And it's what they're planning on at the moment. But we as players can change that, and and so we can certainly discuss whether or not that going out and just trying will allow you to gain any skill. Maybe it'll be just that you can only gain at 10% the rate because you're so awful you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
But
Well, look.
Anyway, we're way off topic. I want to cut this off. We're over time. This is the longest roundtable ever that we've done.
Yay!
And so.
But we need to discuss the skill system and the combat system. We're nowhere. We don't know what we want. Half the guys want something.
I tell you what. Let's flip a coin.
Luck! Yes! I win!
Let the pig decide. The pig seems to own you pretty good.
Yeah.
What does the pig want?
Okay. People in chat watching live, skill base or luck? You guys here? Let's go. Evil, skill base, or luck?
Luck.
Luck.
At least
Okay. Ian, skill base or luck?
Skill.
Okay. Let's see. What's your name? Jesper, skill base or luck?
Skill.
How about we do a
Okay.
straw poll?
Just hold on. I want to complete this. You don't want to vote in public? You can abstain. Okay, myself, I'm saying skill.
I'm saying skill.
Oleg, how about you?
Definitely skill.
Skill, okay. JP?
Man, I'm gonna.
Just
Honestly,
look at
I honestly don't. I think ultimately, I think I'm gonna go with skill. I think. I mean, luck would be
You
nice.
don't sound sure. Richard?
I don't. I really don't. I really don't.
Skill with a very tiny fraction of luck.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about what I'm winning that
fraction
too.
of luck.
Saint?
Just to give some variation.
Oh, skill. 100% skill.
Okay. Drunken Cause?
He is silent.
He's passed out.
Passed out. William?
I'll speak for him. Skill.
No. William?
Skill with skills influencing luck.
Yeah, skill or luck. Black or white?
Undecided.
Undecided.
Yes, skill.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so
Luck wins.
and any final answer there? JP, final answer?
I'm gonna go. To be honest, I'm gonna go undecided. I really am, and I
Okay.
hate to do that, but I think I'm going
that's
to.
okay. That's okay. And so I want to see. Okay, so what we have right here, just those of us on the panel here, we have 6 skill, 1 luck. And then I'm just going to go in order until I get to the end. We have skill, luck, skill. Ink
Beards.
voted for beards. Skill. Neojack went both ways. Let's see here. Skill. I think we have a majority here. And,
Majority is skill, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it does need to have a hint of luck in there. I really do think it
We
needs
have
to be that way.
15 to 2.
I don't wanna be
Actually,
able to-
I
Because
think
we're
that
lucky.
I think that
One
the
of those
YouTube people
yeah.
can get in on this as well, but I think we have a clear majority here, and this is by the people, by the players, and so unless Neojack or Jacques comes back with us tomorrow in the evaluation and says that there is a reason why we have to have luck, I think it's skill. So there we have it. Okay,
Yes.
I know we're not all
gonna
in
be
agreement, and that's okay. So it's good to not have a majority all the time, because if we did, there would be no conflict, and it would be boring as hell.
Amen, brother. Preacher.
So, okay. That's it for today. Join us tomorrow. We'll be 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, for those of you who want to watch us over your lunch hour while you're at work. And then let's see if that's 2 p.m. That'll be 5 p.m., 6 p.m. UK, 7 p.m. in Germany. So I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you very much, and thank you guys for being on the roundtable today and
Thank you.
helping us hammer this out.
Thanks for having.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.